Welcome to the CNBC Africa special highlight. I'm Kenneth Ibomo. As we celebrate CNBC Africa's 10-year milestone in telling the African business story, we'll engage with key business stakeholders and discuss how to bring development finance into Africa to achieve inclusive growth.
Welcome to Closing Bell, West Africa. I'm Oni Sunday, coming to you from Lagos, the economic capital of Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us on this historic day as CNBC Africa turns 10. Well, I'm not alone, though alone in the studio at the moment. I have Esther Awoniyi on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Esther, what's happening there?
Nice to be with you on the show.
Minutes ago, yes, or rather, that is the sound of the gong marking the close of trade today. The all-share index up 2.6.
CNBC Africa has been in the business of telling Africa's business story through engaging thought leaders in the business community, stretching across key sectors and events that have shaped Africa's business landscape this past decade. From business leaders to governments, as well as institutions that hold the keys to drive Africa's much-needed development. In West Africa, the channel has evolved from just a 5-minute hit per day to shaping the very essence of business reporting in the region. Frederick van der Vyver, CNBC Africa's Executive Director for West Africa, breaks down how the region plans to celebrate this significant milestone.
In collaboration with several partners, the DFS, Diamond Bank, North-South Power, and Eco Hotel, the ABN Group is delighted to organize this Development Finance Conference as a part of a series of activities to celebrate our 10 years anniversary. We are the leading business television broadcast on the continent. Over the last decade, and also as we celebrate CNBC Africa 10 today, we have reported the African business and economic story in a changing and challenging global environment. Our reporting seeks to draw attention to the opportunities and challenges that Africa presents to local and international investors.
As the foremost business news channel in Africa, the development of the continent is at the heart of what we do. This influenced the decision to focus this year's celebration on development finance. One organization that shares the same aspirations for the continent is the African Development Bank. And here's what the president of the bank had to say about CNBC Africa's journey so far.
Good morning, everyone. It's a delight to be able to address you via video today. I really wished I could be with you in person for this ABN Group conference, and while CNBC Africa is celebrating its 10th anniversary. Congratulations, Africa is proud of you. Let me especially congratulate Mr. Rajesh Wahi. I have met only a few people that have the same confidence and optimism on Africa as does Rakesh, the chairman of the ABN Group, owners of the CNBC Africa. He has invested his money in Africa, from Forbes Africa magazine, CNBC Africa, and several investments in higher education. I wish to congratulate you and all your superb staff at the CNBC Africa for this occasion of your 10th anniversary.
Quite inspiring words from Akinwumi Adesina, the president of the African Development Bank. I guess we have our work cut out for the next decade. With the tone set for the day, CNBC Africa is taking the bull by the horns to ensure that the right conversations are initiated to trigger the mobilization of domestic and foreign resources to drive expeditious growth on the continent.
We always feel happy when there are conferences like this that provides a spotlight on infrastructure financing, especially in Africa, but also provides an avenue for investors and also operators like us or companies like us to jointly review the issues in the industry and see how we can jointly provide solutions.
The good news is that largely across the continent there is a lot of intent at a political level, and it's also supported by a lot of funding. Whether the funding is enough is a moot point, but there is funding.
Most of the people that the development finance institutions are targeting do not have the capacity to access most of the funds they're looking for. And what these development finance institutions have resorted to is to basically do what we call intermediated lending.
We have huge amounts of pension funds, insurance company money sitting in our countries without places to invest. We have huge infrastructure deficits needing financing. So it's kind of logical that we should create a situation where our pension funds, our African pension funds, can invest in infrastructure.
The first thing we're doing is to ensure that we have the right conversations. We bring the right people on board to have the conversation. So you're talking about the public authority, which is the government, you're talking about the policymakers, you're talking about the technical partners, you're talking about the DFIs, and where exactly the DFIs play.
Development finance is sort of core to getting Nigeria where it needs to be in the economy. I like the fact that we've brought practitioners together with government and they're talking about some of the key issues. We just left talking about greenfield projects and why greenfield projects don't get the kind of financing that they expect, etc. So it's really, really fantastic.
2 panel discussions were lined up for this summit, with the first focusing on ways to achieve inclusive growth. CNBC Africa's Wale Famariwa engaged the panelists on ways to harness multilateral finance for infrastructure development. The second panel discussion focused on the transaction challenges in bringing development finance to Africa. So what else is holding back the progress of development finance in Africa?
Fundamentally, we don't close enough transactions in Africa, infrastructure investment transactions. And each transaction feels like it's reinventing the wheel.
So there's a consensus amongst a lot of the players across Africa that Africans need to find Africans-focused solutions.
We have to make sure that because it's Africa doesn't mean it shouldn't be absolutely world-class. Nor should we say that we should protect just to do some things in Africa. We have to insist on in Africa we do world-class infrastructure, else we'll embed mediocrity.
We also have a situation where the public and the private sector still are not working as closely together as they could be and they should be.
And for us, we think it's apt to say that, look, let's have this conference, let's discuss what are the financing or bankable challenges and how can we together frame how we can address these issues.
In framing the conversations to address the issues, we find out the opinions of some participants about the choice to focus on development finance, the theme of CNBC Africa's 10th year anniversary.
Well, first of all, I'd like to congratulate CNBC Africa on celebrating 10 years of fantastic journalism. And Diamond Bank and CNBC Africa have been long-term partners in this journey. We've had a lot of, and simulated a lot of conversations in the financial industry, both across practitioners, financial institutions, looking at new developments in banking and finance in Africa.
No, it's brilliant. I think CNBC actually over the years has managed to connect decision makers, funders, policymakers across Africa. So to that end, the fact that it's being hosted in Lagos and there's such a great attendance is actually good because it helps the Africa narrative, as I call it.
For us, we're an African-focused organization. And because we have Pan-African inspirations, which is also what CNBC Africa has, for us, our interests are aligned.
I believe the conference is very well timed. The issue of infrastructure in Nigeria and on the continent is one that needs to be addressed and addressed rather urgently.
We don't have time. So we need to look at how quickly we can do things and how efficiently we can do things to get the infrastructure capability we require to grow Africa.
The first thing we're doing is to ensure that we have the right conversations. We bring the right people on board to have the conversation. So you're talking about the public authority, which is the government, you're talking about the policymakers, you're talking about the technical partners, you're talking about the DFIs, and where exactly the DFIs play.
One unique part of this summit is the introduction of the deal rooms, a matchmaking for investors and companies seeking funds to grow their businesses.
This is what we're actually heading to the conference. Usually when you have a conference like this, people will talk and there will be lots of thought leadership being shared, best practices being discussed, but we felt that we needed to actually do deals. So concurrently with the conference, as the conference is going on, the plenary sessions are going on, we're actually having these companies meeting with investors. So we have about 85 meetings actually scheduled for today.
Can we actually get transactions going right here, right now? Can we actually get people that are looking for money, get people that have money, and basically match them together today, here ahead? And the response has been amazing.
I think it's an excellent idea. I think one of the issues that we need to have more is frank conversations early on in the process. We need to understand what each side needs to do an investment, and then we need to see if we can together find a way to get a win-win solution. So I welcome any kind of confirmations. I just hope that the conversations are frank and really to the point, because we all, as Africans, we tend to be very polite, not really say what the real issue, then go away and start grumbling and complaining. So let's have the frank conversations around the table. Maybe we can find some solutions.
So we have about 5 key sectors represented. So we have energy sector about 20%. We have manufacturing about 10% in there. We have healthcare about 26%. We have telecoms, media and technology about 20%. So it's across the various sector of business.
At the deal room, I spoke to them about, my potentials for growth, what I wanted to, the next level I was seeing my business, and where I needed, where I wanted them to come in. And I believe and I'm hopeful that I'm going to be getting calls from, everywhere to grow my business.
The deal room sessions are winding down as we conclude the morning session of CNBC Africa's Development Finance Summit. When we return, we'll wine and dine with the business community in West Africa as we toast to a decade-long journey in telling Africa's business story. Welcome back. It's a warm evening at the gala night of CNBC Africa's 10-year anniversary, where we're hosting the business community in Lagos to a night of fine dining. As the guests clink their glasses, we toast to an amazing decade of telling the African business story. As the guests settle in, co-founder and vice chairman of the ABN Group, Rakesh Wahi, shares a few words on the occasion.
1st June 2007 marked a very important milestone in our journey as Africa's leading business media conglomerate. The value of creating an African network to tell the African economic story has been our USP for the last 10 years. During this period, we covered news every day from all major African exchanges, and we were able to establish a presence in over 12 countries. Integrated with business news from our international partner, CNBC International, we became the most comprehensive business news television station on the African continent. We currently broadcast 9 hours of live African programming, which is unprecedented by any other television network in Africa. In recognition of the work that we've been doing on the continent, I'm happy to report that we renewed our CNBC franchise for another 15 years, which was done in October last year. So we've got now So we have a runway now of 25 years to actually build this business. A lot of people think that media is something that you can build in the short term. On the contrary, it's a long-term business. It's like an infrastructure project. We have to make sure that we get the right value system and the right people and the right depth and breadth of coverage. Ladies and gentlemen, we would not have achieved these milestones without the support of our shareholders, our board, sponsors, viewers, service providers, and strategic partners. My gratitude to all of you for believing in our business and supporting us over the years. I look forward to your continued support over the years ahead. I'd also like to express my gratitude to Fred and our complete team here in West Africa for their hard work and dedication, without which we wouldn't have got to where we are. Before I finish, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you who've taken time to be here with us this evening. Thank you very much.
Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, and one of Africa's richest women, Folorunsho Alakija, also had words to say about CNBC Africa's journey so far.
The person who invited us here, Mr. Okesh Wahi, who has actually done very, very, very well. I must really congratulate you, taking this great risk in establishing this great company, you know, which is CNBC Africa, and which is part of, CNBC West Africa is part of CNBC Africa. I think you've done extremely well. I mean, really, running a business in Africa is not a joke, especially running a media business. So congratulate you. At least you've shown that, yes, it is possible. You've done 10 years, and we wish you all the very best. Best to yourself, yourself, your staff, and the management of CNBC Africa. We pray that in the next 15 years, which you have already extended your franchise, we'll be here to celebrate with you. Congratulations, and I wish you all the very best.
It has brought a whole new level of promotion in the business industry. All over Africa, you can imagine if they weren't there to report the information that we need, financial information, economic information that we need, we wouldn't be where we are today.
From the capital markets, banking industry, government, and big business, CNBC Africa has been a part of the growth story of many of these institutions. We hear some testimonials from some business leaders in the region.
I'll be honest with you, Rakesh. The first time CNBC Africa started, I think it was somebody in Stanbic IBTC that told me, oh, they are going to do an interview on CNBC Africa. I honestly and truthfully told them, but who watches CNBC Africa at the time? Because I thought I was up to date with watching, satellite and CNN and the whole lot. And I didn't know anybody who watched CNBC Africa. So let's fast forward 10 years. A combination of what you've achieved and also changes in sort of technology, digital and all. Today, my experience, and I'm a living witness, is that somebody goes on CNBC Africa, discusses something about the economy of Nigeria, Africa, what have you. If it is topical, if it is insightful, within a few minutes, through a combination of Twitter, also those short video clips that go on WhatsApp, people who did not watch the CNBC Africa live start sending the whole clips all over the place, and it goes viral. So the influence is beyond watching it live. And it goes to confirm the quality of what you've put together, that very often you have been the primary source of key information that we've all joined to receive something and pass it on. So I would like to formally commend your management team for an excellent job. You've done very well.
As a young business student in New York, the professors always advised us, you must read the Wall Street Journal every day. Gradually, CNBC is taking over from the Wall Street Journal in terms of delivering business news and becoming a must-watch for people that follow markets across the globe. And if you're looking at African markets, that is one spot where you would, on one channel, go through West African markets, East African markets, South African markets, and hopefully very soon we'll be seeing North African markets as well. I say that because in with one of my hearts as the president of African Securities Exchanges Association, where you have 27 exchanges that are working together to develop the markets in Africa, and definitely CNBC has been a very worthy partner even on that platform as well. So what as we celebrate 10 years and as we look forward to the next 15 years, what I hope for you is that you will be a must-watch. Professors will be telling their students, have you seen CNBC? You must see CNBC every day. And as you influence opinion with your reporting, I think it's very important that you continue to relay the facts, relay what is on ground, and use your power of reach for the positive good for all. Congratulations.
I mean, it's a beautiful evening. It's lovely to be here. CNBC Africa has been an integral part of the media industry in Lagos State. And 10 years is a long time in any business, particularly in media business. So for CNBC to be celebrating in this glamorous manner, it's really very chic, very nice to be part of it. For Lagos State to be part of it. His Excellency the Governor would have loved to be here, but he's out of town. You know, if he was here, he would have said a few words to say that the reason why Lagos State has partnered with CNBC Africa over time is because we appreciate the value that this media giant, even in 10 years, has brought to the business of delivering good business journalism in Africa.
I would say in terms of the quality of information, the analysis, and also getting market practitioners to speak on topical issues. CNBC is widening the horizon and also taking the quality of reporting to the highest level. I'm proud to associate with this television house.
I think it's a fantastic thing. A decade is a long time for any organization in the media space, especially because that's a space that's constantly, rapidly changing, innovating, and you can fall behind, but somehow you've managed to hold your space. And that should say to you that you've gotten some things right. Now, what must happen is that for the next decade ahead of you, you have to understand that it's an entirely new economic state that the world is entered already. And so how do you ensure that you're at par with the kind of knowledge, with the kind of networks, with the kind of institutions, with the kind of policies, with the kind of basic accountabilities and scrutinies and interrogations that that particular phase that we have entered would require. So your job is well cut out for you, and I believe that there are many around the continent that are rooting for you, because the public agenda setting task is so important for the media. Media is purveyor of policies, and you know, you've got to do it in a kind of way that you can help foster the closer integration that the continent must have. We need to do things at large scale. And to do things at those kinds of scales, we need people to be at the same level of understanding. So the mindset shift that we need on issues of policy, investments, institution building, you can be a platform that would just cause people to know that there is a huge reason why we must just keep up with the pace and overtake the world if possible.
It's a dream come true, I guess, for CNBC. Many people were skeptics 10 years ago, but I think you've essentially outperformed people's expectations over the last 10 years. So business now around the globe moves at very fast pace. So you need business news that supports that fast pace of business. And your business has helped Africa a lot to achieve that.
No, I think it's wonderful. One of the things that CNBC has done over the years is to develop businesses. And I've seen multiplication of businesses being entrenched in the system, in the whole network. From what has been going on. So I think at this point, the 10th anniversary, you have a lot of companies that can celebrate what you have done. And I'm beginning to celebrate CNBC myself. We are just evolving in the industry, I mean the power sector. But I think in the next couple of years, what we're doing with you is also going to add value to our business. So that's what I celebrated CNBC for. the fact that it's multiplying the effect on businesses and the future that it will bring in economic factors to the environment.
So as we celebrate 10 years, can I ask that you all join in the countdown? From 10, and then after 1, we say CNBC Africa and they cut. So let's go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. CNBC Africa.
Ladies and gentlemen, this
Thank
here's
you
another
all.
one for the steppers. DJ Wayne Williams, put the record on.
There you have it, a fantastic evening spent with the key business stakeholders in Lagos to celebrate 10 years of stellar financial reporting. Thanks for being a part of it.